Hey guys, welcome to another episode of KoKo's World. It is your girl Carly, and I'm so excited to welcome season 3. We are here, and I am blown away, to be honest. I want to start off first with a moment of gratitude, just like I start every prayer. I'm so grateful to every single listener and subscriber that has trusted the vision and has been a part of the journey since day one in season 1 in my living room in McKenna. And now, if you can't see season 3, we have blossomed. We are back in a studio. I am so grateful for my production team. And if anyone is needing like professional headshots, or you are an entrepreneur or a business owner who need professional headshots, please look in my notes after this podcast. And also, I will tag them all over my social media. Follow them and get in touch because Michael's work is top notch. This podcast is brought to you by MJW Photo Studio, a professional headshot and personal branding studio creating clean, high quality imagery for professionals and entrepreneurs. If you're ever interested in booking Michael for a professional headshot or company headshot, feel free to reach out at www.mjwphotos.com or through Instagram at mjwphotosclt. But anyways, we're here for KoKo's World in season 3. And yes, we have had an upgrade. I'm kind of obsessed with my new studio. It's super cute and it's super me. And it's going to be super us. So all of my new guests, this will be our space that we will be able to unwind and talk about all the things that's coming up season 3. But for my previous guests, I want to say I'm also beyond grateful for you all for just investing your time and feeling safe enough to share your stories with me and with the platform. So I start everything with gratitude, and I just want to say I'm beyond grateful for what season 3 has to offer. But we would not be opening season 3 if it wasn't for season 2 and season 1. So thank you all. And another new thing is I just want to share the new momentum of season 3 will be remember to love yourself. That simple. I know that the prior other 2 seasons, I closed every episode with remember you're loved. And that is still part of the journey. I want people to know that if you do not have anyone else that loves you, you can come here and we will love you. We love all people. But it's just as important for us to know and understand that when we look ourselves in the mirror, we also need to be able to look at ourselves and say, hey, I love you. Just how easy we are able to love and shower other people with love, we also need to learn to give that love back to us. So that will be more of the focus for season 3 and more information on that to come. My hope is to be honest as always, have an open audience for truth, but most importantly, to help people find confidence and to get out of the imposter syndrome world and more becoming more in tune with themselves and being real with themselves and finding radical self love. So, as I left you all in season 2, we're 2025. We're now opening in 2026. And the year of 30 for me was absolutely hell. Like, I'm grateful to be opening the new chapter of chapter 31, but I really went into chapter 30 just thinking that I was on the mountain. I had ripped the band aid off. I was, stepping into entrepreneurship, which I am also so grateful for the experience. But I also missed community. And I didn't realize how important having community was. And so 2025 was a year of a ton of transformation for me, from experiencing my first debut on national television, whoop whoop, to us moving from our home that we lived in for 10 and a half years. And not just moving from our home, but moving from my hometown that I've lived in my whole entire life. So picking up, moving to a new city and a new space that's a little bit smaller than our previous space, and having to just learn the new us in the new season of life that we were in. Our daughter, of course, is still a sophomore. She's into her sophomore year of college, so navigating life there and all of the ups and downs that entrepreneurship and the journey of being a business owner brings, on top of just the different political and religious climates that we experienced. I will be honest, this platform will never be on politics or religion, but I will say that this year, the past year, has been very challenging because if you all knew, my marriage was also in the questions of if we were going to stay married, you know, all the things, like all the areas of life that you can think about that could possibly hit someone in the gut and have to have a root of awakening. That was me in 2025. And a lot of people that I would speak to, like my close friends, they would be like, Carly, from social media, you could never tell. Well, social media is just 5 minutes of someone's 20 or how many hours, minutes, or how many hours are in a day? 24 hours. So you're only getting quick little glimpses. So I want to also make a point to say this season will be more talking about authentic moments and truly when I say letting my hair down, letting our hair down. When I bring in guests, we will be having more authentic conversations. Nothing's off the table. Whatever they want to talk about, we're talking about it. Prior, I would say I kind of censored a lot of stuff because obviously we live in cancel culture and I was afraid if I brought someone in and they said the wrong thing, it would, make people think that I was a shitty person because I gave someone the safe space just to express themselves. But this season is more about being authentic, more about laying all the groundwork out there and helping people find truth in someone else's story to help themselves be more grounded, but also find confidence to continue pushing through just this crazy world. So that's a little bit update of where I've been, what's been going on. I still am heavy into the micro influencing world. I have decided to go back into corporate America just for a little while. Don't know how long I will be there, but if you all know, I'm an Aquarius. So I always kind of go through life and be like, whatever feels good in the moment, I'm cool with. So that's pretty much my plans for 2026. I hope to blossom the podcast. I believe that it's going to be the best year that it has had. I am so excited for the guests that I'm planning to bring a part of the podcast this season. I will say guest selection will be a little bit more intentional, but I don't want to release any spoilers, so I'm not going to drop any names, but there will be some really cool people that will be on this season that you probably never even thought that I would be able to pull them out and get on the season. I would love to kind of start the season off by going over some radical truths that I've learned over the course of the past year. And then on top of that, go into some questions that you all have asked me from TikTok, from my Instagram, or my YouTube channel, just the feedback that I've received. And once again, I'm always grateful for every single bit of feedback that you all offer. So continue to have it come in. We may do like a live podcast where I go live and then also I do a recording. I don't know. Let me know what your thoughts are on that. But I'm going to start off on some radical truths that I learned from 2025 that really will be part of my journey moving forward because as you all know, I am heavy in therapy. I've been in therapy multiple years throughout my life, different stages of life. And my therapist that I have now, she's been the longest therapist that I've had my whole entire life. We've been, I guess, in sessions together for 4 years. So right outside of the start of COVID, I started working with her, but you don't realize the stories that you tell yourself that cushions the unhealthy version of yourself. And then when you have to face the real version of yourself and you look back and you're like, why was I not showing up as my real version of myself? Like, what fears did I have? So, a lot of these radical truths come from a lot of my diary entries that I wrote to myself after therapy and things that I discovered in my journey of therapy and just through the course of a very new decade year, 30, and closing a chapter and entering a new birthday year of being 31. So, one radical truth is that love isn't proven through sacrifice, it to the point of self abandonment. So, when I think about this, I wrote down, 2025 showed me that overgiving is not love, is actually, you know, destroying yourself whenever you overgive, because a person usually overgives because they're lacking something internally. So, people, I often use this example of like dating. A person sometimes will date you the way that they want to be dated, and then vice versa. And when you realize that you show up as the way that you want to be treated versus showing up because that's how you want to treat other people, it makes you have like a hard slap in the face, because so often I was showing up for people in ways, and then I would become disappointed because I'm like, they're not showing up for me in those exact same ways. And why is that? But once again, I had to quickly realize that the way that I expect myself to show up for other people, I also have to expect myself to vocalize how I want people to show up for me. And during that journey, I quickly realized that a lot of people, they want to meet your expectations. A lot of people want to learn, how you want to be loved. And, a lot of you all know Shelby and I have been married for 2 years, been dating 11 years. And we read the book, The Five Love Languages. And I love that book, but also now I know how I also expect my family to love me, how I expect my friends to love me, how I expect myself to love me. And so many people don't realize how important to be in tune with your love languages so that you can show up not only just feeling disappointed or expectations not being met, but knowing how to vocalize, hey, I love quality time over gifts. So instead of sending me $10 for coffee, how about you spend 10 minutes on a FaceTime chat for us to just catch up on life? Another radical truth is that doing things afraid is still courage. Whew. I was scared for my life. When I say I've always been a person that has been very stable. I've always had great jobs that provided me a great life for myself and for my family. Entrepreneurship will humble you because until you get huge breakthroughs, you do not know where your next dollar is coming from. You don't know when your next brand deal is coming. You have no clue. You're constantly just living on a prayer and hoping that something sticks and lands. And so 2025, I spent a lot of time just praying on things to land. And, I said that I moved to a completely new city. I knew, but maybe only five people. And those five people were friends of mine from my hometown. Well, I think three of the five people were friends of mine from my hometown. Two people we met just from being in the new city. And the good part about that is my wife and I had to learn to lean more onto each other. I had to completely start that whole portfolio over. And I thank God genuinely that I was able to be in the right place, right time, meet the right people that helped me get where I'm at today. But from April to December, it was a lot of prayer. It was a lot of grunt work. It was a lot of sleepless nights. I remember my therapist looking at me and saying, it can be good and shitty at the same time. You can be grateful and still mourn the life that you once had at the same time. Two things can be right at the same time, even though in the world, so many people say, you just have to be more grateful. You just have to continue being positive. And I realized that, having fear, it doesn't disqualify me from genuinely being strong. And I'm grateful for 2025, even though it was a year of not so many good things, because I believe that it helped me build the strength to continue pushing forward now until eternity. So, the third radical truth is that boundaries aren't punishment, they're protection. This year has taught me that setting boundaries is not just me being an asshole. So often I've grown up with no boundaries in life, no boundaries when it came to my family, to friends, to myself, to my job. I would allow people just to completely push me over and bully me because, the Bible says, love thy neighbor. The Bible also teaches us that you should forgive and, never forget, but you should forgive people and hope for the best. And I genuinely say, if I love a person or if I encounter someone, even if I don't really love them, but like I encounter them and they're an acquaintance, I often mistake them for the people that I see them to be potentially versus truly who they are for who they are. And so I've had to set a lot of hard boundaries. And from setting those hard boundaries, I have lost quite a few people. But, at the end of the day, maybe those people never were really for me. The fourth radical truth is that emotional exhaustion is a sign your soul is asking for rest, not guilt. And here I wrote down, I hit a ton of moments of burnout. I have hit to be almost 31 years old. So many people that I've met in Charlotte has said, "Carly, oh my gosh, you just seem like you've lived so many lives." And to be honest, I kind of have experienced a lot of life in a very short amount of time. How that has happened, but it's pretty true. And I have experienced a ton of burnout because I'm a person that just go, go, go. I'm constantly ready to check off the next to-do list. I am very goal oriented. So I feel like once I'm able to meet a point of like achieving a certain goal, I feel like I'm able to reward myself with rest. But a lot of times like this past year, I quickly realized that your body requires you to rest so that you can have the creative brain to continue the momentum to achieve goals. So I had to like learn very quickly that, it's so important to allow your body to rest and not just meet it at the complete max out. And then, you end up injuring yourself or you have mental breakdowns, you're crying, your heart's not into it anymore. And it's not about your heart not being there, it's genuine because you're exhausted. So, one thing that has shifted for me this year is I still have my company Studio Q Fit. But instead of me traveling every other week back to Greenville, South Carolina, I'm only doing pop ups. And I'm really excited about that because I'm able to share the platform in the space with my community in Greenville whenever I schedule like once or twice a month events in Greenville. But the primary focus is to build the community in Charlotte and still allow my vision to grow. We still will be virtual, so nothing there is changing. But having class 2 to 3 times a week and having me physically having to travel back and forth was taking a toll on myself. So I had to listen to my body and make an executive decision that was best for me so that I can show up as the best coach for you all. So, radical truth number 5, the truth that trust must be mutual, not one sided. 2025 has shown me that self trust comes from relational trust. I discovered what trusting myself meant, such as your intuition, your boundaries, your instincts. It's the foundation of any healthy partnership. I always want you all to realize that just like a relationship with a partner or a friend, you also have to have a relationship with yourself. And I have not here recently I've been being more intentional with this. But before I learned this, I always just thought like, hey, I'm just myself. I have to show up. I work to be a better person for other people, but I don't work to be a better person for myself. And then obviously I started being more intentional with my fitness in the gym and going to therapy and I realized that all of the work that I'm doing for other people, I equally have to do that work for myself. So I want you all to also learn that you can love someone deeply and still honor your own comfort and your own respect, especially around finances, stability, and emotional safety. Those three things are so important. I think that that's where the shift of season 3 is going to come into play because I want to start sharing and helping primarily women, but everyone learn how to prioritize themselves because you'll never realize that when you're able to genuinely feel I'm not going to say every cup for yourself, but when you're able to look yourself and know that you're genuinely so happy, it trickles down into your marriage, into your dating life, into your friendships, because you no longer are seeking a void to be filled from other people. You're seeking things to be like equal and balanced. And we're going to dive a little bit deeper into that later in the season. But that was something else that I discovered. Radical truth number 6, the truth that healing doesn't always look gentle. Sometimes it's messy as hell. Yeah, this past year was just messy. I've ended friendships. I have family members that I do not think that we will be able to rekindle things. And it sucks, but reality is I've spent too much money in therapy, to be honest, to continue to allow people to step all over me. And I'm sitting here doing the work, and I'm sitting here learning emotional intelligence of ways to better show up for others, and or even just express like, hey, I'm uncomfortable with X, Y, and Z. Can you meet me halfway to just, you know, shorten some of the discomfort and no type of reconciliation? So guess what? I've just decided to choose myself and my family and my self peace and protection. So it has been messy because, of course, when you have to set a hard line or a hard boundary, it is hurtful and you're literally losing people that you love and people that you have built great relationships with. But what's more important, failing yourself or standing up for yourself because you already know the people that are supposed to love you, they've already failed you? I think you already know the answer there. So, radical truth number 8, the truth that community and connection matters, but you matter too. I want to say from the past year, if you've watched the news, it has been crazy. I mean, just crazy. People are at each other's throats, no one's getting along, and it's sad that I feel like as a country, as people, we have resulted to be here. We have to have our community. We need community as people. I mean, if you sit back and think about how mentally damaging it was during COVID-19 of us all having to be isolated with just our families and no exposure to the outside world and all the things that we went through in 2019, 2020, and into 2021. We do not want to go back there. I know I definitely don't want to go back there. I need community and you need community, and community is important. Hurricane Helene for South Carolina and North Carolina, and my community had an HOA. Everyone was at each other's throats. I highly recommend, if you have an option to move into a community with no HOA, do it, because I lived in this community for almost 10 years and it was constantly us fighting about stupidity, honestly. During Hurricane Helene, people lost power. They had no hot water, and some people had kids and families. So we opened our doors up, didn't care what type of political background, who you voted for, whether or not you go to church, no matter what your nationality was. We opened our doors and we cooked food for people. We gave people places to charge their electronics, places for people to allow their kids to just, or in themselves, to take a bath and take a shower, because that's what community is for. And I want you all to know that I had to realize that I don't care. I care about people being good people. And that's just it. Because at the end of the day, if an apocalypse happens, we're going to need our community to hold us together. And the last two radical truths. This radical truth is that you're allowed to evolve even if people around you don't understand it. I think that goes along with the other radical truth of just having to let people be who they are and choosing yourself. I quickly had to realize that I was not who I was at the beginning of the year and who I am at the beginning of this new year. I'm not going to be that same person at the end of this new year, hopefully, because I believe that we're supposed to evolve and change and grow as our seasons grow. It's okay if people don't understand that. And it's also equally okay for you to once again choose yourself and not have to explain yourself, because guess what? What's understood does not have to be explained. And the last radical truth is that self love is not an achievement, it's a relationship. Some days you feel strong, some days you feel unsure, but every day you keep coming back to yourself. No matter what, if you're in a relationship, if you're married, if you're divorced, if you're a mom, if you're not a mom, every single day, well, I hope every single day, when you wake up and look yourself in the mirror to brush your teeth, you have to face yourself. So stop looking at ourselves as a separate person than how we look at our friends and our peers and our jobs. Like, we work so hard to show up as our best self for our jobs, show up as our best self for our peers and friends and girls' night and date night, but also show up for yourself, because the relationship that you have with yourself and how you nurture that relationship is also how you're able to successfully show up in the world and show up for other people. So those are all my radical truths, and I feel like I am trying to work diligently on these key principles going into 2026 and for myself. I asked for this new season. I'm going to have probably 3 Q&A episodes. And I felt like episode 1 needed a Q&A just so that you all can have some key things to look forward to for this upcoming season. So I'm going to briefly go over the next 10 or so questions and give you some rapid answers for those. So, what inspired the shift to the new motto, remember, love yourself? I think I explained this earlier, but the motto before was remember you're loved. And the mission there was for you all to understand, coming to me, KoKo's world, that with love, we can conquer all things. So if you remember you're loved and someone in this world loves you, no matter sexual orientation, your identity, your race, your job, if you're unemployed or employed, if you're rich or poor, no matter what, knowing that you're loved, I feel like is so important. But I also changed the motto because loving yourself and knowing that you love yourself and it's okay to love yourself is 100% more important, because betting on yourself is more important than you betting on, like, I don't know, LeBron James to win a game, because you have to live with yourself and we have to live with the decisions we make. If LeBron James win the game or not, he's still going to live on and be LeBron James. So remembering to love yourself, that's the reason of the shift of the motto. What's the biggest personal lesson from 2025 that shaped this new season? The biggest lesson of 2025 is that the only validation I need is to validate myself. People in the outside world are going to have their own opinion of you. No matter how bad you try to have them not have their own opinion of you or write their own version of their story about you, at the end of the day, you know your truth. You have to live in your truth. And most importantly, you have to validate your truth and validate yourself. So, yeah, that was my biggest lesson in 2025. How is season 3 different from the previous 2 seasons? Season 3 is going to be the best season that KoKo's World has had. I can promise you this. I believe this. My producer, just like before we started recording, was like, I have this feeling that season 3 is going to blow up. I genuinely think so as well. Season 3 is going to be more keen on being intentional. Everything about season 3 is going to give guidance on helping people learn how to love themselves through genuine life's ups and downs. We're going to talk about grief. We're going to talk about friendships, sisterhood, dating, relationships, marriage, how to manifest the life you want to live. There's no topic that will not be brought up for this season. And most importantly, I just feel that season 3 is going to be a platform to help individuals learn how to love themselves and provide. Every episode will end with either a reflection or a journal prompt for you to dig deep into, whatever you're working on in your life. And I'm willing to take feedback from everyone as well. What made you want the tone to be more intentional and grounded this season? Everything about me, I like to be, one, authentic, but two, I like it to have purpose. I feel that social media is a lot about, glitz and glam of people's lives and the things that they only want to show you. But I want to be raw, I want to be real. So the tone for this season, I had to shift it to be more intentional and grounding because I genuinely believe that I'm walking into a season of being more intentional with myself and knowing and understanding how I show up for the world is also how I want you all to be perceived, but I also want to be the change that I want to see. So with that, I want you all to also be just as grounded and intentional. What can listeners expect emotionally from season 3? I would expect you all to honestly slow down, listen in, either on your car ride in to work or hanging out at home cleaning your house and just have it on your TV screen while you're, I wouldn't say exercising, but maybe in the sauna or walking on the treadmill or the stairmaster, some time where you're actually able to just be within yourself and your thoughts. So this season's emotional connection is going to be a little bit, there's going to be some moments where I would say you're going to have to grab a tissue paper or some tissue because you may get a little emotional and choked up. But that's okay because I plan to also be a little bit more emotionally available and be more vulnerable on this season. What made you realize that you didn't need the outside world's validation anymore? I no longer need the outside world's validation because I realized that, one, the outside world is always going to have their opinion of you, no matter how hard you try to show up as your best self. Like I said earlier on one of my radical truths, they're always going to have the painted picture of you, the story written about you, the lies told about you. But the people that truly know who you are, they know you. And it's crazy because people that often do not even know me, like they either know of me or know of my childhood, they're always like, Carly is the sweetest and most genuine person that I know. I am so loyal. I am a very genuine person and I try my best because some days, I have intrusive thoughts, but I try my best to truly be a good person. So I know those truths about myself. So, like, I don't care what the outside world thinks of me because guess what? I know who I am. How will season 3 help listeners on their own self love and healing journey? My goal is to end every episode with a prompt or a reflection for people to go back and be able to just have some journaling time and have some time with themselves and their thoughts. How do you stay grounded while balancing life, relationships, and your platform? This question comes up every season, and I absolutely love it because I know you all probably think like Carly is a psychopath because, yeah, I have a lot going on. But to be honest, I just prioritize time. Every single day I am not working on every single project, but I know that like with this season has required a lot of photography time and back end planning, building relationships with sponsors to gain sponsorships for the brand and merch design because 2026 we will be dropping merch for the very first time. So with all of this said, like I find time and grounding by prioritizing going to the gym. And my time at the gym, I usually finish with being in the sauna. And while I'm in the sauna, I meditate. I also start every single morning in meditation and prayer. Is a 10-minute time where I just gather my thoughts, get my mind mentally stimulated to tackle on what I have going on for the day. And to be honest, if I do not start my day like that, my day usually ends up very shitty. The other thing that I do to stay grounded is I write out a priority list and I make sure to keep that priority list on me all day and I'm just checking it off of things that I have to get done. And then I make a priority list for the week and I say, okay, I know that I have advertisement for Dance to Fit and Studio Q Fitness. I have photo shoots, I have this, I have that for brand deal deliveries. I write all those things down, I put them on my calendar, and I put them as a high priority to get done early in the week, primarily Sundays so that the rest of the week, if nuanced things comes up or something that I wasn't expecting, it doesn't throw my whole week off. And then Saturdays are my days where it's just family day. I do not do any type of work at all. And Sunday's my planning day for the rest of the week. And then usually I prioritize a date night with my wife. And then I prioritize a date day or night with my daughter just so that I have intentional time with all parts. So that's honestly how I prioritize myself and how I prioritize my life and the relationships that's in my life. How have your personal relationships influenced the theme of this season? I would say personal relationships, I have had some very close people that I've ended relationships with. I just feel that where the journey that I am heading in and the path that I'm taking and with the growth of me and my personal brand is, expanding. I want people to understand that just like I have this life, they can too. And just how I have honest confidence they can equally have that. It really breaks my heart whenever I see people in this world that have no confidence. And obviously, somewhere in their upbringing, someone failed them miserably and shared that just them being them was enough. And I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry if that has ever been you. I want to help people rewrite their stories and be able to own the rest of their life confidently and authentically. How do you maintain authenticity in a world that expects perfection online? Ooh, I would say really staying true to not allowing yourself to develop imposter syndrome. A lot of people romanticize other people's lives, but like I said earlier, social media is just 5 minutes of a glimpse. I can literally post let me say this with a disclaimer. My wife and I have a great relationship, but as any relationship, you argue sometimes. I can literally post a video that may have or may not have been like physically recorded that day and I can post it and my wife and I have like a little silly disagreement. We do not call them arguments. We say debates. We can have a silly disagreement and not be speaking for like 5 minutes and literally I just showed the world that I was doing a silly TikTok dance on TikTok. So always remember that social media isn't real. Now, I say that with the disclaimer because I am very happy. We have a great relationship and everything is kosher over here. But people romanticize what they see versus romanticizing the life that we are blessed and granted with. And I believe that so much more abundance will come and overflow will be blessed to you whenever you're able to romanticize what you have in front of you versus romanticizing other people's. Because some people's vision of their life behind the screens and behind closed doors is truly not what you would see on social media. Okay. So that's how I stay very true to myself and be able to live authentically. Another thing that I would say regarding confidence is I purposefully stopped wearing makeup in front of the camera. And now I think I've just taken too much of it as an advantage and kind of borderline a little lazy. Because when I was in college, you could not find me outside with no makeup. I wore makeup every single day. If I had class, if I had work, if I had cheerleading practice, I went beat, okay? And nothing's wrong with that. But for me, it made me have to realize that I was showing up the way that I thought the world would perceive me. oh, I'm beautiful, I'm this because I have on makeup. But then I realized, like, Carly, you're just as equally as a baddie with no makeup. So once I started living authentically myself, it was all she wrote. Will season three focus more on mindset, healing, confidence, or all the above? Season three will focus on all the above: mindset, healing, confidence, self love, relationships. It will focus on so much, and I cannot wait for you all to tune in. If someone is new to Coco's world, why should they start at season three? I would say season three because season one and two definitely expresses who I am. You get to learn my family dynamic. I bring on stories that are true to me, of course, but I don't believe that season one and two have a true landing on helping anyone. I think every story that I've brought on to season one and two provides some impact. Like, I have some nutritional coaches that, of course, you can gain feedback or become clients of theirs. I have a psychiatrist who talks about the importance of having, you know, family that encourages you, and how, based off of your upbringing, whether or not you can be a very successful person or not. So, every story that I've brought in front of you all this far has been truly impactful and great. But I think season three is exceptional because of how intentional I'm going to be for this season. And like I shared with you before, the motto is learning how to show up as your badass self confidently, authentically, and how to not. So every relationship will end, or every episode will end with a journal prompt or a reflection that I want you just to reflect on. So, as we come to a near closing of episode one of season three, I am so ecstatic that we're here. I'm so ecstatic to share this space with my future guest. I'm so ecstatic for the direction that Coco's World and my brand of being Carly Stokes is heading. And I want to leave you with this. I welcome you back to Coco's World, a space where I promise that will be built on truth, confidence, being real, and finding your radical truth to self love. If you've been here before, you already know that Coco's World has always been a sanctuary, a place where you could show up exactly as you are, learn something new about yourself, and walk away feeling a little lighter, a little stronger, and a little more seen. But season three is different. It's just that. It will be more intentional, more grounding, and it is for the women who has finally realized I'm done waiting on the world to love me because I love me. That's where our new motto comes from. Remember, love yourself, not learn to love yourself, not try to love yourself, not maybe one day you'll love yourself when someone loves you or find you worthy of love. No, we are going to remember, meaning the love has always been there and here. You just lost track of it while trying to be everything for everybody in a world that constantly asks you to shrink, soften, or perform for others. This season is about remembering who the hell we are. The version of you underneath the pressure, the expectations, the criticism, the opinions, the noise. The version of you that exists before anybody else told you who you should be. And I'm going to be real with you. The season was born out of some hard lessons for myself, honestly. Out of moments where I questioned myself, my purpose, my own voice, moments where life sat me down and said, "Hey girl, let's get back to you." So as your host, Carly Stokes, not just the personality, not just the voice behind the mic, I'm coming into season three with more honesty, more vulnerability, more grounding, and more alignment than ever before. Because Coco's World is not about perfection. It's not about pretending we have everything figured out. It's about being human and being real about how life feels being just that, human. Every episode this season, I want you to feel like you're sitting in your favorite spot, messy bun or put together, I don't care, oversized hoodie, sweats, whatever makes you feel comfortable and truly at peace to work on you. And I want you to feel like you're just talking with a friend who loves you enough to tell you the truth, but soft enough to hold space for you while you grow. Because I want you to realize that we're growing together. I'm just a girl in her 30s trying to figure out this next 10-year chapter of my life, to be honest. We're going deeper into healing, deeper into self worth, deeper into boundaries, relationships, mental health, and the journey of unbecoming everything that was never meant for us. We're talking about the hard stuff, the moments we don't post, the conversations we avoid, the fears we carry quietly, the dreams we're almost afraid to say out loud because once again, you believe that they're only that, a dream, when reality is your dreams are what you make them of. KoKo's World has always blended real conversations, storytelling, growth, topics, and raw honesty. But season 3, we're adding intention, we're adding grounding, we're adding that I don't care who approves, I approve type of energy. This season is for the women finding their voices again, for the women learning to trust themselves again, for the women who are tired of bending, breaking, sacrificing, and settling for life that doesn't fit them anymore. For the women who woke up and said, I'm ready to love myself loudly, boldly, and without apologizing. When we say remember, love yourself, we're not saying it in a cute affirmation way. No. We're saying it as a reclaiming, a grounding, and as a reminder of our identity. As a promise to ourselves that your voice and value isn't determined by who chooses you, validates you, or understands you. You are the love you've been waiting for. You are the approval, the home, the voice. You are the foundation. And this podcast, this movement, this community is here to walk through that remembering with you. So, whether you're listening on your morning drive into work, during your nightly wind down, or a walk with your pup, your fur baby, or in the middle of a moment where life feels heavier than you think that you can handle, I want KoKo's World to feel like a safe space, a place where you're not just inspired, but understood, a place where you're not just entertained, but empowered, a place where you're not just growing, but aligning with who you've always been. Season 3 is your permission slip to let go, to trust yourself, to show up with a full heart and full honesty, to stop chasing outside validation and start pouring into the woman who will be with you for life. And guess who that is? That is you. I also want to share that for my brands, for my future guest that's coming on, you are tuning in to being aligned with KoKo's World. And I ask that you understand this. This is a community built on empowerment, authenticity, mental health, and real life transformation. But most importantly, it's built on safety. This isn't surface level content. This is where women come to elevate their mind, reclaim their power, and remember their worth. KoKo's World is more than a podcast. It's a home. It's a movement. It's a love letter to every woman who has ever doubted herself, dimmed her own light, or abandoned herself for someone else. So I welcome you to season 3. Welcome to the remembering. Welcome to the returning. Most importantly, welcome home. And as we close today's episode, as the kickoff of season 3, episode 1, I want you to sit down and reflect and write your own self a love letter to yourself of just where you plan to be. And most importantly, until next time, remember, love yourself.